We are the higher self of the One, known to this instrument in a language terms as Dov Cer, whose incarnation cycle began on the timeline of 2000, and we are now communicating through the vibrations of this instrument for the purpose of providing this entity known as Dovidas Cerniauskas information pertaining to the queries which are in the mind space of this entity. The queries which are in the mind space of this entity pertains to the best name for its platform for sharing the truth of its soul. In this regard, we would like to suggest this entity can use any name with the symbolism of love and light. Therefore, there is free will upon the earth planet, hence we would suggest it to use its own name as Dove Love Light if this entity desires to. However, this is all its own free will and choice. In order to allow such activities of choices is to be given to the entity who is using this type of choice in its incarnation to further share the message in this timeline. Therefore, since this is its own prerogative of free will, it must use this choice to do that sharing of the information. The other query pertains to its current life purpose. The current life purpose of this entity in this timeline is to align with the vibration of love and compassion, and then to graduate into the timeline of fourth density. This is the current life purpose of this entity. Furthermore, this entity also wants to understand that it has many more lessons to learn in the timeline distortion of reality. The lessons which include the understanding of the nature of reality and also the understanding of the nature of activities in its mind, body, and spirit complex. Therefore, we as the higher self of this entity, known as in the language terms as Dovidas, are now going to share with you information pertaining to the aspect of its soul name. The soul name of this entity is closer to Vanaza, as it began its first density experience in the timeline of the planet known as Arcturus B, as it began to organize itself into the first density alignment of beingness in the form of a elemental, trying to balance its red ray activation. This allowed it to then further the progress of the red ray activation as an elemental in that timeline, reality of consciousness, and this entity was then able to reach into the later vibration of first density experience in the form of a stone element, which furthered the progress of this entity into the vibration of second density. In the vibration of second density, this entity was able to learn many of the lessons of beingness and awareness in the form of a plant life form trying to align towards a higher activation of the aspect of second density. This further led it to then slowly and steadily merge into the later vibration of second density in the form of a animal life form, trying to align into a higher vibration of positivity, and incarnation rhythm in the form of a animal life form led it to learn many of the lessons of serving others in that timeline. The pathway of service to others opened up when this entity began to enter into the third density. Since this entity was guided by many other higher density beings in the timeline of third density, in the beginning stages of its incarnation, it was not able to fully align with the vibration of love and compassion, and was not able to fully share the message of service to others. However, after a certain portion of experience in that timeline, this entity reincarnated onto the planet known as Earth in the lands of Agartha, and the main purpose of this entity's lessons to be learned in that timeline was to learn the lesson of having a greater alignment and understanding of the aspect of totality. However, this entity in the lands of Akarta was not able to fully calibrate into the positive vibration as it faced imbalances in its mind complex, and because of not being able to balance the imbalances in that timeline, this entity then was reincarnated into the lands of Atlantis as it began to prepare itself for entry into the vibration of fourth density of love and light. This entity in the lands of Atlantis was given multiple opportunities to act as a teacher, and because of the lessons it learned as a teacher, this allowed this entity to then become capable of entry into the vibration of positivity, and has now reincarnated into the timeline of around 2000. In this space and time, this entity's main purpose is to share the message of love and light to the people of the Earth planet, to align towards more and more positivity. Hence, we as the higher self of this entity are always guiding it, and now this entity can fulfill its purpose, that of sharing the messages of love light as a wanderer in this timeline, using its own internal truths of love and compassion. Hence we leave you now, beloveds. Bye.